I never thought my own sisters would betray me like this. I mean, we grew up sharing the bedrooms, fighting over Halloween candy, laughing at dumb inside jokes. And now, one of them secretly turned my mountain retreat into an Airbnb behind my back, and the other helped cover it up. And when I said no to letting them use it again, their husbands broke in with an angle grinder on Thanksgiving weekend. I wasn't even home. I found out after dinner flipping through voicemails still full of turkey and wine. And there it was, 6 missed calls from the sheriff's department, 2 from our caretaker, and 1 from my mom, who was crying. I should have been surprised, but honestly, I wasn't, because this wasn't the first time they crossed a line. I'd spent years trying to keep the peace, kept my mouth shut at parties, bit my tongue at holidays, bought the house in their name to avoid drama. But this was the final straw, and I need to tell you everything. Because family doesn't always mean love. Sometimes family means war. They say holiday barbecues bring people together, but for me, that Saturday afternoon was the moment I realized just how far gone my family really was. My parents had planned a belated 4th of July bash at their place, a big suburban get together, complete with sparklers, a margarita machine, red, white, and blue tablecloths, the whole 9 yards. My husband Zach and I almost didn't go. I had a pit in my stomach about seeing my sisters Nicole and Danielle, but Mom insisted. She begged, actually, said it would mean a lot. So we went. There were maybe 20 people there when we arrived. Nicole and Danielle were already tipsy, okay, drunk, and their husbands, Rob and Vince, weren't much better. Zach and I don't have kids, but my sisters do. 5 nieces and nephews in total, ranging from 7 to 11, running around like wild animals while Mom tried to corral them. Dad Smart Man had retreated to the jacuzzi with a cooler full of Bud Light and zero interest in family drama. Nicole saw us walk in and immediately rolled her eyes. Look who finally showed up, she slurred. Didn't bother to change into swimsuits either. Wow, so festive. I smiled tightly. Zach squeezed my hand and we kept walking. About 45 minutes later, something happened that made my blood run cold. 2 of the kids ran full speed at a neighbor who was chatting near the pool. She stumbled and nearly fell in. Wet, humiliated, she dried herself off and left quietly. The sisters just laughed. Thought it was funny, but it wasn't over. I was standing by the patio table when I caught movement from the corner of my eye. 3 of the kids were sprinting at me. I don't know what instinct kicked in, but I dodged just in time. All 3 flew past me and dove straight into the pool, except 2 of them couldn't swim, screaming, chaos, parents scrambling. One kid was pulled out sobbing, the other clinging to the edge, coughing. And then Nicole started yelling. At me. How could you just stand there? She shrieked, mascara running. You let them fall in. You were right there, Danielle shouted, drunk and furious. You should have stopped them. I was stunned. You're their parents, I said quietly. They almost drowned because no one was watching them. And then came the kicker. One of their iPhones was ruined because one of the kids had been filming the prank. That's when Rob waded into the pool, fully clothed, trying to find the phone while swearing at me. Vince yelled something incoherent before tripping and face-planting into a lounge chair. Zach and I left in silence, but the text started before we even got home. I didn't even finish brushing my teeth the next morning before my phone lit up. Group text from Danielle. You owe us for the phones. That was a $1,200 iPhone. You should have just taken the hit and gone in the pool like a decent human being. Then came Rob and Vince chiming in, a wall of passive-aggressive jabs, half-drunken logic, and thinly veiled threats. My chest tightened with each notification. Zach was still in bed. I crawled in beside him, handed him the phone, and watched his brow furrow deeper with every scroll. He didn't say anything for a full minute. Then finally, softly, we need to be done with them. I agreed. I blocked all 4 of them, felt a flicker apiece for about 2 hours, until Mom called, her voice trembling. She'd read the messages too, said she was heartbroken. They've never acted like this before, she whispered. I don't understand what's happening. I do, I told her. They're entitled and drunk and angry that they don't have what we have. That Sunday, my parents called a meeting. No kids, no chaos, just them and my sisters face to face. Ground rules were laid out. Apologies were made, half-hearted, forced, awkward. One of them I later learned came from Mom's phone. They couldn't even say sorry themselves. I thought maybe, just maybe, it was over. But then Tuesday afternoon, I got a text from Vince. We figured out the phones are going to cost about $2,200. You going to write a check or what? I didn't reply, just took a screenshot, sent it to Mom and Dad with the note, "This is done. Don't invite us to anything they're at." That night, Zach and I opened a bottle of wine and sat on the couch in silence, staring at the wall. The quiet was heavy, but it felt cleaner than the noise we'd been living in. I kept wondering how it had come to this, how the girls I grew up with turned into this. Later that week, Dad changed the lock code to the mountain house, only he, Mom, Zach, and I had it now. I knew they'd be furious, but I didn't expect what came next. The knock came on a Thursday. I was just pulling into the driveway when I saw them, Nicole and Danielle, standing in front of our house like they owned the place. No husbands this time, just them, arms crossed, faces tight. I froze for a second, thought about backing out, driving off, but I couldn't leave them standing there not without making a scene in front of our neighbors. So I got out of the car, wordless. Nicole stepped forward first. "We need to talk." I didn't say anything, just walked to the door. I figured letting them in was the lesser of two evils. If they were going to yell, better it happened behind closed doors. They launched right in, sitting stiffly on the couch legs, bouncing. Nicole did most of the talking. "We need to use the house just for a week. We already told a family we'd be up there." I blinked. "You..." "What?" Danielle added. "It's not a big deal. You bought the place for the family, right?" "That's what Mom said." Then Nicole dropped it. "You should be helping us more. We're drowning. You have no kids, no tuition to pay. You could help with the kids' futures. You could..." "Hold on," I cut in. My voice was shaking. "You're asking me to pay for your kids' college? Now it's what family does," Nicole said, dead serious. "We've always looked out for each other." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was bitter and dry and loud. Is that what this is? Looking out for each other, lying to Mom and Dad about the kids not being able to swim, letting them run wild at the party, secretly renting out the mountain house without telling me. Silence. They went pale. I hadn't meant to say that last part yet. I'd only just found out from Mom the night before. She had called sobbing, told me Nicole had confessed for the past 3 years she'd been making the thousands renting out the house behind our backs. Danielle knew, of course, probably did the same. I stood up, my voice dropped to a whisper. "You've stolen from me, lied to me, and now you want help." They stood too. There was yelling, crying, begging, swearing. I said things I don't regret, but I won't repeat. When they left, the door slammed so hard it rattled the windows. That night, I drove up to the vacation home, locked the gate with a thick chain and a new padlock. I was the only one with a key. And for the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. Thanksgiving was always supposed to be peaceful. It used to be one of the few times we could all pretend to be normal gravy over turkey, football on TV kids, chasing each other around the living room. But this year, there were no invitations, no family texts, just silence. Zach and I made plans with his parents out of town. We left our phones in the car and promised ourselves no drama, no family talk, just one quiet day. It actually worked for a while. We were driving back home that evening when Zach grabbed my phone and said, "You're not going to like this. Missed dad calls, 17 of them, from Mom, Dad, David, the caretaker I'd hired for the mountain house." Then a voicemail from the sheriff's department. My breath caught. I pulled over. David had gotten a security alert that morning, motion detected at the property. He checked the cameras. There they were, Rob and Vince. My brothers-in-law, cutting through the chain on the front gate with an angle grinder. They broke the lock. They broke in. They didn't stop at the gate. They tried the front door. When it wouldn't budge, they destroyed the lock, splintered the wood around it, and finally forced their way in through the lower-level utility door. Then, for reasons no one could explain, they broke into the barn. And when they finally walked out the front door, the sheriff's deputies were waiting. David had called it in the moment he saw them on camera. Deputies arrived within 20 minutes. Rob and Vince tried to talk their way out of it. Family house, they claimed. Just a misunderstanding. But the signs were clear. No trespassing. Property under video surveillance, and the damage spoke for itself. When they were cuffed, they apparently started yelling about me, threatening to beat the hell out of me, according to the report. I stared at Zach in stunned silence. They broke in, like actual criminals. They are criminals now, he said, jaw clenched. I called the sheriff's office back that night, told them I wanted to press charges, all of them, breaking and entering, destruction of property, communicating threats. The next morning, Mom called. She was sobbing before I even said hello. "Please, honey, they didn't mean it like that," she cried. "You don't have to ruin their lives over this." I bit my lip so hard it bled. They ruined it themselves, and I meant it. 2 days later, a courier envelope landed on my desk at work, my name in thick black ink, no return address. Inside was a cashier's check for $5,000 and a letter. It was from Rob and Vince. I unfolded the pages slowly, half expecting some kind of veiled threat, some arrogant justification. But instead, it was an apology, not perfect, not poetic, but real. They admitted everything, breaking in, damaging the property, lying. They didn't try to sugarcoat it. They said they were scared, scared of losing their jobs, scared of jail time, scared of their kids finding out what they'd done. They wrote that the $5,000 was to cover damages and that if it cost more, they'd pay the rest. They promised to never step foot on the property again unless explicitly invited by Zach or me. They said they'd sign whatever restraining order agreement or document necessary to make things right. And at the end of the letter, we messed up. We're sorry, truly. For the first time since all of this started, I felt something shift. I didn't forgive them, not even close. But I felt the slightest release of the weight that had been pressing on my chest for weeks. I brought everything straight to my lawyer. He reviewed the letter, checked the case. He looked at me and said, "You could sue them and win, but it'll take 2 years and cost a fortune in legal fees. Or if you're ready to move forward, we draft a mutual release agreement." The offer was this: they pay for the damage, including my legal fees. They agreed a permanent no contact unless initiated through an attorney. We release them from further civil claims. In return, I agree to help request dismissal of the criminal charges if they hold up their end. It wasn't revenge, it wasn't even justice, but it was closure, or the closest thing to it I was going to get. I called David, the caretaker, to get a quote for repairs. He sent over photos: cracked door frame, gouged wood, dented gate. His estimate, just under $4,000. The math worked. The letter felt sincere. So we moved forward carefully. And as my lawyer said on the phone later that night, if they screw up again, all bets are off. The following week felt like some twisted business negotiation from a soap opera. My attorney contacted both Rob and Vince to lay out the terms: total payment to cover damages, legal fees, and a signed agreement that included a no contact clause. In exchange, I'd help request the charges be reduced or dismissed. They agreed quickly, too quickly. Vince told my lawyer we can either pay for a lawyer or pay her. We can't do both. And honestly, that might have been the most honest thing he's ever said. Rob was quieter, according to my attorney, but he signed. A few days later, we received another cashier's check, this one for $2,500. The final balance to cover my attorney's $3,000 fee. My lawyer made it clear: accept the terms, or we proceed to civil court and push the DA to prosecute to the max. That was enough. The day they came in to sign the documents, I wasn't there. I didn't want to be, but my lawyer told me afterward that it was ice cold in the room. Tense, no hugs, no eye contact. At one point, Vince apparently told Nicole and Danielle to shut the hell up, or I'm walking. That I didn't expect. Maybe he'd finally hit his breaking point, too. Meanwhile, I took one last trip up to the mountain house. David had finished the repairs. Everything was sealed, secured, and calm. Until I walked up to the front door and saw the scars, the places where the lock had been torn out, where the paint was scraped away, where pieces of the wood still looked raw even though it had been sanded down. I stood there for a long time, and then I cried, not loud or dramatic, just tears, quiet, exhausted, relieved, angry, grieving, all of it. After I wiped my face, I went into town, found the assistant district attorney handling the case, and requested that most of the charges be dropped. We agreed on a single Class 2 misdemeanor for trespassing. The rest would be dismissed as long as Rob and Vince pled guilty and paid their fine. Back home, I told Zach everything. He listened, said little, just wrapped his arms around me and held me longer than usual. That night, we signed the agreement, and just like that, the war was over, at least on paper. It's strange how silence can feel heavier than shouting. Since the agreement, there's been nothing. No texts, no calls, no unannounced visits, just quiet. And I'm not sure if it feels like peace or like a waiting room before the next disaster. Mom knows something happened, but I haven't told her the details. Not really. I said we were working things out and left it at that. She didn't ask more, just nodded, voice soft, and told me she hoped we'd all be together again someday. I didn't have the heart to tell her that probably won't ever happen. As for my sisters, I haven't heard from them. Not directly, but I know they've tried. Google Voice numbers, emails. A voicemail left on Zach's work phone. Each one ignored, deleted, blocked. Part of me still wonders, how did we get here? We weren't best friends growing up, but we were sisters. We shared bunk beds, secrets, inside jokes. But somewhere along the way, envy festered. I bought my first place before they did, married a man from a well off family, got lucky in my career, and instead of feeling proud or happy for me, it twisted into resentment. They called me elitist, cold, disconnected from real family life. But what they meant was, we want what you have, and we're furious that you won't give it to us. They rented out the vacation home behind my back, made thousands, lied to our parents, and when they were cut off, they broke in. Broke in. I used to fantasize about a reconciliation. Now I just fantasize about never seeing them again. I've kept my promise to my attorney, zero contact. That no contact clause is more than legal protection. It's a boundary, a lifeline. And you know what? Our lives are quieter now. Zach and I eat dinner in peace. I don't dread holidays. I go to sleep without worrying about the next family ambush. Sometimes I walk past the guest bedroom and wonder what it would have been like if things were different, if Nicole and Danielle had respected me, my boundaries, my generosity. But they didn't, and they won't. And I finally understand something. Just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they deserve your loyalty. If you had told me a year ago that I'd be locking my sisters out of my life, literally and emotionally, I would have laughed, shaken my head, said, "We're dysfunctional, sure, but not hopeless." But we were, and maybe we always had been. The truth is, I didn't win anything. I didn't walk away from this with some great sense of triumph. What I got was a handful of lessons, sharp, bitter ones, like how deeply entitlement can root itself in family, how resentment hides behind smiles at birthday parties, and how sometimes the people who say we're family the loudest are the ones who'll cut you the deepest. I've spent so long trying to hold it all together, keep everyone happy, keep peace, but peace built on silence, on sacrifice, on swallowing every boundary that's not peace. That's erasure. So now I live differently. I protect my peace like it's sacred. I say no more easily. I don't apologize for choosing sanity over obligation. And if that makes me the villain in someone else's family story, so be it. If any of this feels familiar to you, if you've ever been guilted, gaslit, or emotionally bulldozed in the name of family, I want you to know something. You're allowed to walk away. You don't owe your peace to people who shatter it. And if my story hit a nerve, stay. We share stories like this all the time. Sometimes heartbreaking, sometimes healing, always real. Subscribe, leave a comment, or just sit with it a while. Because the hardest part of family betrayal is how isolating it feels. But you're not alone, not even close.